Mr. Suman Billa, you're Secretary of KeralaTourism, which is part of the government organisation that promotes Kerala. Now, your slogan is God's own country. How did that come about, and how do you deliver God's own country to people that visit from all over the world?
Well, I think some time ago, sometime in the late 70s, we've decided that we needed to have a tagline to define Kerala, and we thought that Kerala is truly blessed by God in all its beauty and the people, and so we've decided on calling it God's own country, and we've not looked back since.
Wow. Yeah. It's an amazing slogan when you think about it, and it's something you've owned for a long time, and other people have tried to do something similar, but it's not quite worked.
That's right.
So where do people come from? Where are your key markets to Kerala?
Well, internationally we get a lot of people from the UK, and we are basically Eurocentric, but over the past 2-3 years after the global recession, we've started hedging our bets, so we now go to Australia. We get people from the United States and from the Middle East.
Yeah.
So we've slowly shifted the Eurocentric market spread to other geographies as well.
So I suppose you're reducing your risk on being too, concentrated on one space.
That's correct. Because 10 years ago we would have thought that all of our rooms would be filled by people from Europe.
Yeah.
Now I think that's no longer true. So we need to hedge our risks. And also in the domestic market, the demography has changed tremendously over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
People have higher disposable incomes. So a lot of our top dollar spending tourists are actually coming from various parts of India.
Let's talk about that for a second, because the perception outside India of people within India, and mostly people who haven't been here, is that people don't have high disposable income. So what's driven that high disposable income for people to be able to holiday in India and go overseas?
Well, I think this process of economic liberalization that we started sometime in the early 90s, that has really started paying off in the last 7-8 years. And people are, there are high earnings and there are higher disposable incomes. Even if you look at the global, tourism spend, a large part of it is happening out of the BRICS countries.
Yes.
Because these are the ones which are fairly immune to recession and slowdown. And this is where the global markets are actually happening for the tourists. So one way to look at it is, instead of going and casting your net wide afar, you should also look at the market which is next door, which is close to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's paying off very, very well for us.
So in terms of your marketing domestically, are the people that want to holiday in Kerala domestically looking for the same sort of products as the people internationally?
Yeah, the product remains the same. And I think the sort of tourists that come to Kerala, there is a certain congruence with the expectation of a European tourist or an international tourist. So there's no real division that way.
Well, let's talk about the products for a second, because Kerala is known and becoming better known internationally as the backwaters of Kerala. We'll talk about that first of all, and then we'll talk about what else there is in Kerala. So tell me about the backwaters as a key part of your product.
Well, the backwaters is a unique geographical feature that is there in Kerala, and we think it's the most fascinating water world on earth, and we need to position it on the lines of the Grand Barrier Reef or the Grand Canyon.
Can you give me some idea of the scale of the backwaters? Do you know how far does it go, or whatever,
Well, the backwaters would be, it is almost endemic. It's almost across the coast of Kerala.
Wow.
So the backwaters of Kerala are a very unique feature, and I think they rank alongside the Great Barrier Reef or the Grand Canyon. And therefore we thought that we should position it like that. In terms of scale, we have two very large water bodies. One is the Ashtamudi Lake, which is in the southern part of Kerala. The other is the Vembanad, which is in the northern part of Kerala. And they spread over several hundred kilometers.
Wow, okay. And the way that represents itself in tourism product is that you can go on houseboats and stay on them, yeah?
That's right. And there are also Ramsar sites, which are, hotspots for ecological conservation. So there is a great deal of ecosystem which happens.
And any World Heritage sites here?
We do. In fact, the Western Ghats of Kerala have been declared by the UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. Okay,
brilliant. So the Western Ghats. So where else is there that visitors can come to, that come to Kerala? Where else can they go?
Well, in terms of products, you have the backwaters, you have the beaches. We have some of the loveliest beaches. We have the hill stations, which are fringing the eastern coast of Kerala. and therefore, and all of them are about 3-hour drive from each other.
Yeah.
So Kerala is really many experiences which are close
Yeah.
by.
It's an amazing place. Now, in terms of international traffic, you can fly into Kochi from where? Which international gateways? Or do you have to go through Mumbai or Delhi or Chennai? Or
Not really, because if you're flying in the Middle East hubs of Dubai, Doha, connect very well into Kerala.
into Cochin, yes?
Yes,
Excellent.
they do several flights into Trivandrum, Calicut, and to Cochin.
Yeah.
So that's the preferred route that most of the people take. But we also connect beautifully out of Delhi and Bombay.
Yeah. And if they're coming, can you fly from Singapore to Cochin?
Yeah, Singapore Airlines operates 2 flights every day from Trivandrum and Cochin.
Oh, brilliant. Now, in terms of, we read all the time about the massive growth of hotel developments in India. I read today about one company who's going to build 130 hotels in the next few years or something.
Yeah.
Is Kerala enjoying the same growth as the rest of India in terms of hotel developments?
Well, on that front, I think we are ahead of the curve.
Wow.
We are much higher than the national average. So I think our challenge is not growth, because growth is anyway happening, and
Yeah.
Kerala is a hot destination.
Yeah.
Our challenge is how to bring it within a framework of responsibility,
Yeah.
and do it in a way that is sustainable, and the way that works for the community, for the environment and ecology and all that.
And do you think you're succeeding in that?
Yes, we are, to a large extent. We are.
Secretary, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.